Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'm your host, Nick. Today, you are listening to episode 92 of Talking Blue, where we're going to recap the Dodgers and the Cubs series that just wrapped up this weekend. Dodgers bounced back after dropping a depressing game Friday night. They bounced back to win 2 out of 3 over the Cubs. So, series win over the Cubs, who were pretty much the hottest team in baseball coming into LA. They had won 10 straight after that comeback win Friday night. So this was a pretty big series. And Dodgers showed a little bit of something coming back and winning those 2 games after that Friday night loss. So as always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the videos dropping. You can follow us on social media at Talking Blue Pod. That is Instagram. That is X. That is TikTok. You can follow myself, Nick, on X at Nick Talking Ball. I tweet all about the Dodgers. I tweet all about baseball. I have a new baseball podcast called Baseball Mondays. If you are interested in a baseball recap weekly show, it comes out every Monday. Let's waste no time. Let's go ahead and get right into these games. Emmett Sheehan on the mound Friday night, taking on Jameson Taillon of the Chicago Cubs. In the bottom of the third, the Dodgers get on the board first. A 3-run home run from Will Smith hit out to right field. They make it a 3-0 game. Later in the fourth inning, Dodgers add on to the score. It's now 4-0 thanks to a single from Hae-Sung Kim. Then in the seventh inning, this is where things get a little scary. A triple from Dansby Swanson. This is off of Alex Vesia, who just came in to replace Emmett Sheehan. Batter later, Nico Horner makes it a 1-run game with a 2-out single, so it's now 4-3 Dodgers. Eighth inning, with Blake Trinan on the mound, a leadoff home run from Alex Bregman ties it up at 4. We go to the ninth inning where Tanner Scott is on the mound to try to keep things tied and going into the bottom of the ninth. He gives up a 2-run shot to Dansby Swanson, puts the Cubs up 6-4. And the score would hold. The Cubs would win by a score of 6-4. Jameson Taillon, 5 innings pitched. He gave up 4 earned runs. All of the Dodgers' runs came off of him. Emmett Sheehan pitched 6.1. Alex Vesia for 2/3 of an inning. Blake Trinan for 1 inning. Tanner Scott for 2/3. And then Edgardo Henriquez came in and pitched to get 1 out in that ninth inning. So this was a very exciting game. One of the more exciting games of the year so far. Definitely was the game of the year / most painful loss of the year. So if the Dodgers would have been able to pull out this win, it would have been a great game. The fact that they lose it made it very painful. Very fun game. It's actually the first time all year that I was like feeling nerves throughout the game, like emotionally invested, like really into it, like not full playoff atmosphere, but like real meaningful game, which is nice. You know, you don't have a lot of that in April, especially as Dodger fans when you've seen your team win the World Series the last 2 years. It's not a lot of times throughout the regular season where you're like, got to get this game, got to get this out, got to get a big hit here, stuff like that. This game, first time all year that I was really feeling that stuff. Both for positive and negative reasons, and we'll get into that stuff. Let's start with Emmett Sheehan, though. Let me give you his final line. He was absolutely fantastic in this game. 6.1 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run, which was on that triple that Dansby Swanson hit when Alex Vesia came into the game. The run was accredited to him because he allowed that base runner. Only 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. Sheehan had a season-high 21 swings and misses. This looked like the Emmett Sheehan from last year. He's continued to look much better as the season has progressed. He's had a couple of decent starts, one that came against the Rangers, I believe, and then pitched pretty solid his last time out against the Rockies. It all came together in this start where he looked like the dominant Emmett Sheehan, who was doing a lot of great things. Season high in whiffs, like I said, season high in slider usage. So he really relied heavily on that slider, and I've talked about it before. He has a great slider, one of the better pitches in the game, actually. I'll get into that in a sec. He didn't have a feel for that pitch early in the year, his first couple starts, but he found a feel for it, and right now it is a nasty pitch for him. The Fastball and the slider were a really lethal combination for him in this game. 11 of those 21 whiffs went to the slider. 7 of them were on the four-seam fastball, which is nice because Sheehan, one of his main struggles this year is that his fastball has been getting crushed. So it's good to see that he got 7 whiffs on that pitch, 33% whiff rate. That's pretty good. His slider is actually a very, very elite pitch, okay? Second best slider in Major League Baseball according to run value. All right, I've talked about run value before. It's a great pitch that can kind of rank individual pitches among the league, throughout the league. First among all starting pitchers. So Emmett Sheehan has the second best slider in baseball according to run value. First among all starting pitchers. The only pitcher in baseball who has a better slider is Mason Miller, who is one of the better pitchers, period, in baseball. 143 batting average against on that slider with a 42.9% whiff rate. He's got a lethal, elite slider. And if you watch this game against the Cubs, he was throwing it to left-handed hitters. He was throwing it to right-handed hitters, getting chase, throwing it like kind of had the perfect release point where he was kind of throwing it right around as a right-handed pitcher. If you're trying to throw a perfect slider, you're kind of trying to aim right off of that down and away corner to a right-handed hitter, right off of that part of the plate. He was dotting that all game, and it was really nasty. Got him out of a couple of moments, with runners on base, and there was just nobody was touching that place, and it was nasty. The velocity has gotten into a better place for Emmett. We haven't seen as many inconsistencies as we saw early in the year. Now, if you watch this game early on, it definitely dropped after the third inning, where he was basically sitting 94, 96, touching 97. As soon as the fourth inning, I want to say, or fifth inning started, he threw a lot of 93-mile-an-hour fastballs, even 92s, I think. But it's still, there were times that you saw the 94s and 96. So he's definitely, as the season has progressed, I'm no longer worried about any kind of injury concerns, velocity concerns, because his first few starts, that was a real talking point. Like, the fastball was getting crushed. He had no command. He was throwing a ton of changeups, and the velocity was down. And it's gotten much closer now. Still not fully averaging what he was a year ago, but it's much closer, to the point where I'm not really concerned about him, and I think he's healthy. I feel very confident about where he is trending now. Where, early in the year when he was struggling, you're thinking, ooh, is this going to be a rough year from Emmett? Of course, it's so early to, categorize anything yet, but, you just never know early in the year when a guy's getting crushed like that. And now, with what I've seen lately, especially in this start, I'm fully, in belief that as the season will go on, he'll just keep pitching, keep getting better, and his numbers will get into a place that you're saying, hey, that's Emmett Sheehan. That's kind of what we expected. I think the production is going to progress towards what we saw in 2025. First 12.1 innings pitched for Emmett this year, 12 earned runs. His last 17.1 innings pitched, only 6 earned runs. So he's pitched much better as of late, and he really deserved to have no earned runs in this game if it wasn't for that triple from Dansby Swanson, which really was a catchable ball from Andy Pages. But really, the big story of this game, and really negative, was the bullpen. Okay, specifically the 3 guys that you're relying on right now with Edwin Diaz out. Okay, the bullpen gave me some 2025 nightmares. All right, and if you watch 2025, you know what I'm talking about. The tail end of 2025 in the regular season, there was a ton of scary, disappointing outings from the bullpen, home runs, late inning comebacks from the opposing team. This game felt like that, and if you watch this game, like I said, I was very locked in on this game. Had a nice, somewhat postseason feel, like the energy was up. And a lot of times when you watch a postseason game, you can kind of feel the momentum. All right, a lot of times when you're watching a regular season game, it doesn't matter, boring game, whatever, you're not really thinking about these things. But when you're watching a game that you're really invested in, and you're watching, like a postseason game, you kind of feel that momentum. Your starting pitcher is dominating. Your team is constantly getting runners on base, getting big hits. You feel the momentum. This was a game where the Dodgers were. Sheehan was dominating. They got out to an early lead. And then the Chicago Cubs just slowly took the momentum. As soon as that triple Dansby Swanson hit, as soon as Nico Horner came up with a 2-out single, made it a 1-run game, the energy just flipped to the Cubs side, where they were like, we're coming back, we're red hot, we came into LA red hot, we're coming back to win this game. Right away, leadoff batter, first batter of the inning in the 8th, Bregman takes Tryon in deep. Right after that, 9th inning, Pete Crow Armstrong leads off the ninth with a single. Dansby Swanson, boom, home run. Like, you just felt the momentum on the Cubs side. Kind of like you could see it coming almost. Now, Vesia, Trinan, and Scott combined for 2.1 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs. All right, so just complete meltdown from your three guys in the bullpen. All right, now the Dodgers bullpen has struggled as of late. All right, and this is where I was feeling a little bit nervous after this game when you start to consider Edwin Diaz just went down for, he's going to miss most of the season. We're probably not going to see him till August, okay? And on top of that, he obviously wasn't even pitching well. Now, you look at these 3 guys who got hit around in this game. Those are the 3 guys you're going to be relying on to get big outs with Edwin Diaz obviously down. And the bullpen as of late hasn't been as great as it was to start the year. The Dodgers team ERA is down to 18th in Major League Baseball now. All right, so the bullpen has officially become a little bit of a struggle for the Dodgers. Now, there are positives, okay? Like I said, they did get off to the year. The bullpen looked good to start the year. They do have the 7th least amount of home runs allowed, so that's a good thing. Again, it is still very early, but last year that was definitely an issue for the Dodgers. They were up towards the top of the leaderboards and allowing home runs. Okay, that was a big issue. So the fact that they're not close to that right now is good. What we're going to need from the Dodgers, one, again, another positive spin is that Vesia, Trinan, and Scott, it's probably going to rarely happen where all 3 of those guys give it up. I mean, again, you had a 4-0 lead. You go to your three-headed monster. Technically they're not a 3-headed monster, but your 3 guys, Vesia, Trinan, and Scott. Those are the 3 guys you're going to nail the game down. They all absolutely blew up. They all absolutely just gave it up. Vesia couldn't get that big punch out. Gave up some contact. Trinan, right away, home run. He's a guy who's supposed to be keeping the ball on the ground, and he gave it up on his sweeper, his pitch. Scott, fastball up in the zone, Dansby Swanson turns on it, gone. Like a positive spin is that it's kind of probably going to be rare that most of those guys are going to give it up like that and just completely lose you the game. But with the Edwin Diaz injury, we're going to need a lot of guys to step up, and I'm going to need Dave Roberts to start to turn to some other guys, give some other guys a chance. Okay, because you can't just rely on these 3 guys every time you have a lead, especially early in the year. Like, you're supposed to give guys an opportunity to see what they can potentially give you, especially when you're a team like the Dodgers who expect to be in the playoffs. And the Dodgers have done this before. They will give guys an opportunity to showcase, hey, we'll give you an opportunity in the 6th inning and the 7th, a high leverage inning. Show us what you can do. And if you blow it up, well, you're not going to really get another chance for a while. So that's what you kind of have to do. Jack Dreyer, Will Klein, Edgardo Henriquez, Kyle Hurt. Okay, Dreyer has an ERA over 4. Gave up that home run earlier in the week to Patrick Bailey. He actually pitched pretty solid in this series in games 2 and game 3. Got some big outs. Okay, so I wanted to give Dreyer some credit. His ERA is over 4. It actually probably dropped down now because I think he pitched in game 3. These are numbers prior to game 3 today on Sunday. He actually has been getting a little bit more strikeouts, which is something we needed before the season from Jack Dreyer, so that's good. Will Klein has low-key been very nasty, and this is the guy I want to see Dave Roberts give a chance in some high-leverage innings. Will Klein has an ERA of 2.45, and if you look at a lot of his numbers, he's not walking guys like he has done in the past. He's getting strikeouts. He obviously has the big-time stuff. I'll go Edgardo Henriquez, an ERA of 4.91. He's a guy that's a little iffy for me. He pitched in this 3rd game today. The Dodgers had a big 5-0 lead. Henriquez just loses his command at some points. He throws super hard. You got to give him a chance because of that nasty stuff. Kyle Hurt, a 1.80 ERA in 5 innings pitched. Kyle Hurt, former starter, dealt with a ton of injuries in the minor leagues, has now transitioned to a full-time reliever. He's got great stuff. A guy that I would like to see get some opportunities. Again, Dreyer and Klein did well on Saturday, getting out of some jams, so I wanted to give them some credit. So we're going to need to – I want to see Dave Roberts give a couple of these guys some opportunities, especially Will Klein. I want to see, not all teams have the luxury of hey, we got to turn over to some other, lesser guys on the trust tree when it comes to the bullpen. We got to turn to some lesser options to see what we got here. Not every day can you just say, oh, Will Klein, we got to go lower on the depth chart. Will Klein, he throws 100 miles an hour. Edgardo Henriquez can touch 102. Not every team has luxuries like that, so you got to try these guys out. I know that the Dodgers will. I'm confident that there are guys in this bullpen that can get outs. And I think that they've just struggled the last couple weeks, and the production will go up, and we'll see that bullpen ERA climb up a little bit. But that was the big takeaway from this game, is it was like, wow, this was a great start from Mebachien, and the bullpen just shit down their leg. Completely gave it up. And the Cubs have a great offense. Don't punch out, put the ball in play. They got a little bit of pop, great plate discipline. So they're a good team, but those are the three guys that you're handing the ball to get you to the end of the game right now. And they completely just crap down their leg. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, it was the first game that really got me like emotionally in, like, let's go, get, a little bit of nerves and stuff like that. And the last thing was there was a ton of incredible defensive plays on this game, both sides. Great relay in I think it was the 7th inning when there was a runner on first base, ball hit in the gap. Andy Pages relay to Hae-Sung Kim, relays to Will Smith to get Ian Happ at home plate, just barely. Bang, bang play. Just a amazing relay. I mean, Pages fielded the ball, threw it on the run, sidearm, which you don't see from outfielders. Threw it to Will Smith, Hae-Sung Kim, who got rid of the ball, quickly made a strong throw home, and then Will Smith made the sweep tag. Literally, if all those guys don't do those little parts, Pages throwing the ball on the run, sidearm, Kim getting rid of it quickly, Will Smith the sweep tag, he is literally safe by an eyelash. Instead, he's out by an eyelash. Just beautiful, like just baseball poetry. So, good game, but it was a tough loss. The next day, I was definitely thinking to myself, like, oof, this bullpen. Are we going to start to see some scary stuff from the bullpen? So let's go to game 2, where the bullpen and a lot of things improved. Game 2, Roki Sasaki versus Colin Ray of the Cubs. Okay, let's go to the top of the second, where Seiya Suzuki gets the Cubs on the board with a solo shot to make it 1-0. Third inning, Michael Busch hits a single to make it 2-0 Cubs. But again, credit to the Dodgers because they came back. Third inning, a 2-run shot from Max Muncy to tie things up at 2-2. A Moises Ballesteros home run in the 4th inning makes it 3-2 Cubs. Alex Freeland in the 4th inning, he ties the game up with a double to left field. Freddie Freeman hits a single to make it 4-3 Dodgers. Then Teoscar Hernandez, he singles to make it 6-3 Dodgers. Dalton Rushing makes it 7-3 with a single. Then Andy Paz, another single to make it 8-3. So the Dodgers really blow this game open. Miguel Amaya would hit a home run off of Sasaki. This was the last earned run off of him to make it 8-4. But an Andy Paz double would make it 10-4. Hae-Sung Kim, an RBI ground out later in the game to make it 11-4. And the Dodgers would win by a score of 12-4. Roki Sasaki does get the win. Didn't really pitch that great, and we'll get to all that. 5 innings pitched from Roki, 2/3 of an inning from Jack Dreyer, 1.1 from Will Klein, Kyle Hurt for 1, and then Jake Eder, the left-hander, who was added after Edwin Diaz got hurt. He pitched that 9th inning to end the game, a 12-4 win. Let's get to Roki Sasaki. We got a lot of stuff to talk about because there's been a lot of interesting news about Sasaki and some changes that he's made. We're going to get to that. 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He allowed 3 home runs, which is not good. Did have 15 whiffs. Okay, so he had I think that ties his career high for the most whiffs he's had in a game. Well, let me give a precursor of what I'm going to talk about with Roki. I'm not going to talk about his struggles right now and just talk about how bad he pitched in this game. What I am going to talk about is a substantially different approach. Roki Sasaki changed something massive in this start, okay, and it is with his splitter. He added 4 miles an hour of velo to his splitter at the start. That is not something you see every day. Early in the game, he threw a couple splitters that were 91, 92 miles an hour, and they were actually charted as a sinker at first. And I was thinking to myself, is that a sinker? Is that a splitter? What is that? And since this game was completed, it's come out that Roki and the Dodgers have tried to do something different, add more velocity to his splitter, okay, add a little bit more spin rate, and could that possibly create a little bit more of stability with his splitter? I'm going to give some numbers and kind of explain what I mean by this. All right, so on the year, Roki averaged 86.9 miles an hour on his splitter. It was up 4 miles an hour in this start, up to 90.9. Okay, it was a noticeable difference. Season high 9 whiffs on the splitter. The goal would appear to get that pitch in the zone more, okay? I haven't talked about this in a long time, but what made Roki Sasaki unique, and specifically what made his splitter unique, is that his splitter had the lowest spin rate in all of Major League Baseball, and it made that pitch kind of like a fast knuckleball. It makes the pitch very unpredictable. When you see a lot of splitters, you don't see this. Okay, so let me get into this. In 2025, Roki averaged 492 revolutions per minute on his splitter, 492 RPMs. That was by far the lowest among all Major League splitters. So it's a very unique pitch. You don't see that. And again, when you see a pitch that's in flight, when you see this in slow motion and the ball is spinning, obviously the lower the RPMs, the less the ball is spinning. The less spin you have on the ball kind of gives that knuckleball effect. When you see a knuckleball in slow motion, like a Tim Wakefield knuckleball, the ball is barely slowing, which kind of creates that like unpredictableness of a knuckleball. Sometimes the knuckleball like has these, cuts, drops, fades to the side. Sasaki's splitter has that effect because he's able to get that extremely low spin rate on the pitch. Again, not something you see every day. The average spin rate for a Major League splitter is about 1,300. Okay, like I said, 2025 he averaged 492, almost 1,000 less revolutions per minute on Roki's splitter. It makes it very unique. It makes that's why you see a lot of ugly swings from hitters on Sasaki's splitter. That can be very effective, of course, because it's so unpredictable. It can create a lot of ugly swings, like I said, and he's never really got that pitch has never really got hit hard, and it's generated a lot of whiffs. But when you think about it, when you have a pitch like that that's dancing like that all over the place, you kind of have no way to control it. What it does is it's not in the strike zone a lot. It doesn't have a very high zone percentage. So again, let's get even deeper on this. So the zone percentage on his splitter in 2025 was 29.8%. 29% this year prior to this start. So less than 30% of the time is that splitter actually in the zone. Okay? The splitter zone percentage in this start was 42% against the Cubs. That was a season high. The highest percentage of times the splitter was actually in the strike zone. On the season, Roki has a 29.3% chase rate on his splitter. In this start, we had a 39% chase rate. So the chase rate actually improved with the splitter. So again, what does all this mean? The Dodgers and Roki are trying to create a splitter that is in the zone more, less unpredictableness, less uncontrollable splitters. It's obviously one start, so we're going to have to see how this progresses, but it was very noticeable on TV. All these numbers really back up that the pitch is much faster, it is spinning more, kind of like when the ball's spinning way more, it has less time to cut, drop, fade, have all these like unpredictable ways the pitch could go, and it kind of makes it a more traditional splitter. It's kind of much more similar to Yamamoto's splitter. Yamamoto doesn't really throw a splitter that is like those big, slow splitters. Really what it is that Sasaki really throws a forkball. That's what it really is. Sasaki really throws a slow, low spin rate forkball. Really the only guys in Major League Baseball who throw pitches like that are like Logan Gilbert of the Mariners, Fernando Cruz of the Yankees, Kodai Senga of the Mets, very similar. Like those splitters are like true breaking balls. They're like big, slow pitches. Other guys that throw traditional splitters, like Yamamoto, like Ohtani, actually, hard splitters that you really could classify as split fastballs that have that nice, hard, arm side fade. This pitch that Sasaki throws is going to increase the sprint rate. It's going to have more arm side drop, and it's going to have, it's going to have more arm side fade and less drop to it. So we're getting really deep into the pitch metrics here, and the percentages. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting, like approach and an adjustment to make. What I really like overall is that it's just an adjustment. Okay, Roki has an ERA over 6. He's not been good. Command's not great. The fastball gets absolutely hammered, even though he throws 98 miles an hour. What I like is that they're trying something different. Okay, and it did look effective in this game. Now, the fastball was a completely different story. Okay, Sasaki's fastball right now He's getting hit at a 395 clip. And if you take a look at run value, his forcing fastball is the worst pitch in Major League Baseball. Regardless of how, I don't want to waste too much time on Sasaki, and I don't want to overblow this little change, because at the end of the day, he still has an ERA over 6. I don't want to make too much of this, but it is something to keep an eye on, and it is something to potentially be excited about. What it does is that it kind of brings up the floor of a pitch to get in the strike zone. It's not really like this throw this nasty pitch, see what it's going to do. Hopefully I can get it close to the strike zone and generate a whiff. Now this splitter looks like it has a chance to be more in the zone just creates an avenue to be in and around the strike zone more, to throw strikes, to get outs. That's really what it is. So super, super interesting stuff. And we're going to have to see how it plays out. It led to, like I said, the highest in-zone rate on his splitter all year, the highest chase from that splitter. So obviously, the more you're in the zone with that splitter, the more you can kind of, move that pitch a little bit lower and a little bit lower. And eventually that will lead to chase. And what also is interesting before I get off of this is could Sasaki actually have both pitches? That would be crazy, because he actually did throw a couple fork balls in this game. Maybe we're going to actually get to a point where we classify Roki with a fork ball and a splitter, because he did throw a couple splitters in this game that were like the traditional 84, 85 miles an hour, slower RPMs splitter. But for the most part, it was that harder splitter. So really what it creates for Roki is an avenue to use the harder, more controllable splitter in non-two-strike counts. So on the first pitch of the at-bat, to get 2 strikes, throw the pitch that you're more confident you can get in the strike zone. When you're ahead 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, when you have 2 strikes on it, you can go for the kill, go for that really nasty, unpredictable fork ball and to maybe get a strikeout. It would be an extremely unique style of pitching if he could do something like that. Very interesting. I cannot wait to see his next start, which I believe will be this weekend against the Cardinals. So super interesting. I can't wait to see that. I just love diving into those numbers and, interesting approach. We're going to see how it plays out. So I just wanted to give all those numbers on Roki. Again, he's not pitched great. He's literally the only guy in the Dodgers rotation who has not really pitched that good outside of Sheehan, I guess. So yeah, last other things with this game. Everyone in the lineup got a hit. The only guy who didn't record a hit was Alex Call, who came off the bench. And then Max Muncy with that home run. He has his OPS up to 1,027, third in the National League. So he is just raking right now. Did come out of the game with a sickness. Everyone was a little bit scared when he came out of the game, but it was planned ahead of time because he's a little bit under the weather. They knew he was going to get three at-bats and then come out of the game and then sit in Game 3. So, yeah. Talked a lot about Roki. I know he didn't pitch good. I know some people might be listening thinking, Dodgers won 12-4, and he's just talking about Sasaki. But, Dodgers well spread around offense. A couple guys, 3 or 4 guys with 2 hits. Everyone else had a hit. Great offense, great bounce back win. Interesting stuff from Roki. We'll see if it pays off in his next start. Let's go to Game 3 to wrap things up. Justin Wrobleski is on the mound taking on Shota Imanaga of the Cubs. A little bit of lefty-lefty matchup. In the bottom of the first, the Dodgers get on the board thanks to a sac fly from Andy Pages. Later on in that inning, a 2-out, 2-run double from Miguel Rojas, who gets the start. He's been raking to start 2026. 3-0 Dodgers. 6th inning, Dalton Rushing, who gets the start for Will Smith, who's dealing with a little bit of a tight back. He gets the start against the left-hander Imanaga, and he cashes in with a single to right field to make it 4-0 Dodgers. Later in the 7th, on the very first pitch of that inning, Shohei Ohtani hits his 6th home run of the year. He hits a left-on-left sinker, hits it out to left field. 6-0 Dodgers. The score would hold, and the Dodgers would win by a score of 6-0. Justin Wrobleski for 6, Edgardo Henriquez for 1, Jack Dreyer for 1, and then Kyle Hurt, he pitches 1 inning. Let's quickly go to Justin Wrobleski. Man, shout out to Justin Wrobleski because he's just balling right now. Hops back into the rotation a few starts ago once the schedule expanded, and wow. An ERA of 1.50 on the year in 30 innings pitched. And what I really like about Wrobleski is just shows that He is really maturing on the fly, even in his young career. Uncharacteristic command from him in this game. He had 4 walks in this game. Let me give you his final line. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. Wrobleski's never a big strikeout guy, but it's nice to see that he got 6 Ks in this game. He only had 7 whiffs. He has one of the lowest strikeout and whiff rates in Major League Baseball right now. But he's making it work by keeping the ball, not really giving up a ton of barrels. He is not walking hitters, pretty decent hard hit rate. He is mixing it up. He's pitching. He's not going for the strikeouts. He's trying to get contact, keep the ball on the ground, that kind of stuff. And it's been working for Wrobleski. Like I said, he has an ERA of 1.50. He's just a dog, and he really just battled through the command issues and really made some, there were multiple innings where he had 2 runners on, no outs, and was able to pitch out of it. The fact that he was able with that bad of command today by his standards, because he has really good command in pounds of strike zone, the fact that he was able to get out of that, pitch 6 innings and not allow an earned run is very, very impressive. Okay, he deserves a lot of credit for that. So, the Cubs were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position, 12 men left on base. So, a lot of Dodger pitchers, mostly Justin Wrobleski, really pitched out of some jams. So, shout out to Wrobleski. Like I said, a 1.50 ERA in 30 innings pitched. That's one of the better ERAs in baseball. He is balling right now. The last thing before I get to some team rankings, Shohei Ohtani's heating up. I think we're close to a Shohei heater. Kind of was struggling coming into the series out of that Giants series. 3 hits and a home run today. His 6th home run of the year. 4 hits over the weekend, 7 times on base. He's continuing to walk a lot, hitting the ball hard. I think he's really starting to heat up. So the last thing I just wanted to talk about was the Dodgers starting pitching ranks, because outside of Sheehan's a little bit of struggles, and then obviously really just Sasaki, the Dodgers starting pitching right now is just going crazy. 2nd in Major League Baseball in innings pitched. They're 1st in the NL. That is very key, the innings pitched, because a year ago, the Dodgers were the team that relied the most on their bullpen. They heavily relied on their bullpen, and I think they had the most innings pitched out of the bullpen throughout a lot of last year. And that could be, that wears on you as the season goes on. You don't want to overkill your bullpen early in the year. So right now, the Dodgers rotation, like every pitcher is just setting the standard of going 6 innings. Some guys going 7 innings. Like, they are pitching deep and deeper and deeper into games, and it just makes things so much easier for your bullpen later in the game to not have to cover a ton of outs. They have the 3rd lowest walk rate in Major League Baseball. That's important. The Dodgers in the past are actually in organizations that goes for the strikeouts, and they don't mind allowing walks. So to be 3rd in the league right now in walk rate is great. Like I said, Wrobleski doesn't allow walks, even though today he did, but normally he doesn't. Glasnow, Ohtani, Yamamoto, those guys have really most of them have improved their walk rate a lot, and they're just pounding the strike zone. Obviously, the less walks you allow, the better. That's goes without explanation. 1st in batting average against. They are 2nd in ERA among team starting pitching. 1st in the NL. Tyler Glasnow, a 2.45 ERA. Shohei Ohtani, an ERA under 1 at 0.38. Yamamoto, an ERA of 2.48. And then Justin Wrobleski, 1.50. Those are 4 guys right now who are pitching great. Glasnow and Ohtani are, if they keep this up, legit Cy Young potential at the end of the year. I actually think I saw that Glasnow right now is the favorite to win the Cy Young in the NL. That's sweet. I would love to see that. You guys know I'm one of the biggest Glasnow fans around. So overall, after all that, Dodgers showed some fight in those last 2 weeks. That's important to me, because after that Friday night loss, that was the most painful loss of the year, like I said so far, and that really sucked. To bounce back and to show some fortitude, put your foot down. Hey, we're not gonna let this snowball. Dodgers had kind of been struggling a tad bit, splitting 2 with the Rockies, losing 2 out of 3 to the Giants. You have that stinker of a loss Friday. To bounce back in those next 2 games, I like that, especially against a very good team from the Cubs. So they showed me a lot. I really like that. They showed me some character. I know Dave Roberts he loves stuff like that, so I'm sure he was loving to see that. So The Dodgers will go. They'll stay at home. They'll take on the Marlins this weekend. This week, I should say. Yamamoto will pitch Monday, Ohtani Tuesday, and then Glasnow Wednesday. So the three best pitchers on the Dodgers so far, we'll get to see those guys take on the Marlins. Then I think this weekend they play the Cardinals. I forget if it's at home or in St. Louis. I feel like it's on the road, but I could be wrong on that. So the last thing is just time for the offense to, I don't want to say break out, but break back out, because a couple of guys have gone into some little bit of slumps. Still have one of the better offenses in the game, so don't want to make too much of it. But Kyle Tucker is still yet to break out. Did hit a couple doubles over this weekend. Time for him to break out. Shohei has already started to heat up. So, yeah. Freddie, he was a little bit cold this series. I think his OPS is now down under 800. We know that he's gotten a ton of unluckiness this year, hitting into hard outs. And then Teoscar Hernandez, he actually, kind of cooled off a little bit this week, swinging and missing a lot. Love to see those four guys turn it up, because really a lot of the Dodgers offense this year has been carried by their crazy bottom of the order production. Guys like Andy Paez, guys like Hae-Sung Kim, guys like Miguel Rojas getting the start. Even a lot of the guys in the bottom of the order have been amazing. I'd like to see the top of the order start to do their thing. So that is all I have for you guys today. Really great series weekend to bounce back, especially after that Friday night loss. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Nick Talking Ball on X. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back this week to recap the Marlins and the Dodgers.